Hi there, it's Gaylin, design team member with Unity Stamp Company. Today I have a floral card and I'm using Watercolor by Prima Marketing and Art Philosophy. And also I'm going to use Watercolor designed pattern paper by Unity. So I am using the stamp. It's called Aging Gorgeously. It's from the July 2020 sentiment kit. It's beautiful. This floral is big. I'm choosing just to use the petals, but it is a big stamp. I'm also using a sentiment from that kit, and I'm going to use the original Misty. And I'm also from Unity going to use the paper pack called Pink and Blue Watercolored, and I'm using a die by My Creative Time called Zigzag Background Die. It's not necessary to use a die for the background. I just thought I would just add that as an extra accent. This pattern paper would look beautiful just by itself, trimmed on the background. And so I'm using the original Misty. I'm stamping onto Ranger watercolor paper with archival ink in jet black. And I stamp the top portion of the flower and the sentiment, and I'm going to trim this sentiment out, and I'll add that later to the card. And for the florals, I made sure that the ink was all dry. I stamped also on the smooth side of the watercolor paper. It has two sides, one a rough side and it has more texture, and there's a smooth side. When stamping, it comes out better on the smooth side. So I go ahead and start adding a little bit of that pink watercolor with water all around that petal. And, you could start with water on the watercolor paper first and dab the color right on top of the water, and it will blend out on its own. That's sort of how I did this first petal. And then you can add more color. I like to add darker shades towards the middle of the petals and in the center, and then I blend it outward. So that's what I did for this first one, and so I did it a little differently for the second one. I don't know why. I just change midway sometimes and change a different way of doing it. This time I decided to take the real concentrated pink, the darker shade, adding it just to the petal without very much water at all on the brush. Just a damp brush with some darker color, and I'm going to use the color where I think there might be shadows or shading or darker areas of the flower. And then you come in with a little bit of the diluted area of the well that you made there, or the palette, and add a little more water to the brush and blend out where that dark shade is outward. And you get a little highlight. It's sort of like an enhanced look to the flower, so that it's not all just one shade of pink. So I did both of those petals differently. You can stick to one way, or sometimes I just alternate depending on just what I feel like doing sometimes. So there's no wrong way. You can always, if something is wet on the paper, you can always take a damp brush and remove color that way as well. And so once that pink area was dry a little, I added with a Ranger Distress marker in black soot. I added a little bit of marker spots into the center petal there, the center of the flower, and then I used a wet brush to blend that out. It acts like watercolor when you add water or with a water brush or a watercolor brush, and it will blend out nicely, just like watercolor does. And so now, after everything is dried, I heat set that. I'm going to add some multi-medium matte glue to the back of this die cut cover-up panel that I'm going to add right over the card base. And that's going to serve as my background. This paper is so pretty. You really don't need that extra die cut. It's so pretty on its own. That pack has lots of different background designs. So I cut off that bud of the flowers with my scissors when I fussy cut these flowers out. And so I just adhered it to the card base or the card front just like I did the big petals. So with foam tape, I lifted those up and the sentiment. Thanks so much for watching. Please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.